Good afternoon on what is a bright, warm and occasionally breezy day. It is Friday the 8th of April and I have a parcel and a nice cup of tea and let's get this one open. Very securely packaged, but I do need to check the contents because it's not actually for me. It is actually intended for a friend in the States. It is just easier and cheaper to ship it to me at this point before passing it on. So let's see if I get into it. I said it was securely packaged. There we go. And then reaching in, what we have got is the box. Put it properly. It's this. This is Golden Heroes. Now this is not for me. I do have my own copy of this. This is the role-playing game of superheroes, published by published by Games Workshop in 1984. This is going to my friend Scott in California. Hi Scott, and that's Scott Jost of the Titterpigs podcast, and he's shipping it to me because it's a lot easier to get it to me than it is to him. But it gives me a chance to do an unboxing of it. So this is the British superhero role-playing game, published in 1984 by Games Workshop, co-written by my friend Simon Burley. This was quite a hit back in the day because it was a British alternative to the big superhero games on the market, which would have been Champions, and at that time Marvel Superheroes. Marvel Superheroes was very popular, and it was joined later on, of course, by DC Heroes a year later. Now I'm going to pull some things out because I want to get to those in a bit, in another unboxing. But I'm told that the game is complete. And let's just have a look on it says on the back. Golden Heroes is the fast-moving, action-packed role-playing game of comic book superheroes. As a player, your character will be a mighty superhero with awesome star-spawned powers, battling to thwart evil plans of sinister supervillains. As the supervisor, game master, you will plot the storyline and control the supervillains and their lackeys. The Golden Heroes rules allows you to create your own unique superhero, or even recreate your favourite character from the world of comic books. Enough said. And it literally just does say, enough said. Could you not get any more British? What you get: Golden Heroes Player's Book provides everything that players need to play their superheroes, character creation, superpower descriptions, combat notes, details of attributes, weaponry, character sheet and more. Golden Heroes Supervisor's Book provides everything the supervisor needs to run the game, combat rules, superpower notes, how to run a campaign, creating thugs and supervillains, a ready-to-play introductory adventure and more. Polyhedral dice for use in play, ages 12 to adult, playing time as long as you want. And its designers are Simon Burley and Pete Haines. So let's have a look. We've also there are no dice in here, and the other thing but there are no dice and there are no standees in here. I know there are some scenarios with standees, but the two books are Player's Book and Supervisor's Book, and you can see there's a quick guide to the game on the back. What superpowers do for you: get to grips with combat, create your own superhero in one action-packed volume. And on the back we have superpower notes, sinister supervillains, crossfire introductory adventure, and cataclysmic combat. And all you need to know to run the adventure. So let's have a look inside the Player's Book. So this is very nice condition. It is black and white because that's standard for the time, and you open up and you've got introduction to the game. Very much the layout style for Games Workshop of the period. You would have seen this in White Dwarf as well, and also in the Call of Cthulhu titles that the Games Workshop put out at the time, like the brilliantly titled On the Trail of the Loathsome Slime, which I still contend is the greatest pun ever inflicted upon the game role-playing game hobby. And here we get into the how to create a character. 4 stats: ego, strength, dexterity, and vigor, and they're all on 3d6. And you have hits to kill, and hits to coma. So damage you can take basically punches or bloodless damage or damage that does draw blood. And then we have how to actually create the superpowers, and it's rolled on this table here. And the great thing about this is it's not just a question of you've got like between typically sort of like 5, 6, 7 rolls on this percentile table. So you might have agility or reactions, stunner, teleport, wall crawling, weather sense, probability manipulation. Okay, so you've got all those, and you're just rolling them up. And some of you can actually can be upgraded, like agility can be upgraded, so you can be agile, and then even super agile, more than normal. And then you take them together with an advantageous background, so you're just rolling on that table there. So that might be brilliant scientist, chemical or mechanical, contacts criminal, rich inherited, position of power. You can have all of those, one of those, and you combine those two, and you create a background and rationale. Okay, how did you get your powers? Explain your background. You are once you've created your character, you are responsible for sort of like coming up with how you got your powers and how you use them. What's your rationale? And the rulebook gives you sample rationales for the same set of powers, which is great. It's really in detail and depth, gives you a really good idea of how to create a character in the game. It's not just about rolling dice. And there are, let's have a look. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 sample characters just using that set of powers. You know, so you've got Wolf, Purge, D-Man, Mars, Mirror Maid, the Scarab, Electron, Circuitor, Lawmaster, so on, all the same powers. And then at the end, you have sort of like, here's what they would look like if they were in comics. It's a great way of doing it. Then I've got final calculations. There's an idea of what your character would look like in your character sheet, already filled out. The basis of combat is explained here in Golden Heroes is the frame, and the frame indicates what essentially is an action. And you can basically that. So you typically a superhero will get 4 actions. Your average non-super character will get 2. Minor supervillains and sometimes get 3. And you can basically use those frames as you want, and also you kind of use future frames, grab it from the future, basically for dodge and so on. And as I remember, it is a you're rolling on a d20 to hit, typically against a target. I can't remember exactly. It's been a while since I really looked at this in any detail. And then you've got lists of weapon types. Again, not wildly illustrated, but it's simple and it's clear and it's easy to read. And when you do get some really nice pieces of illustration here, which are nicely done. There's a bit of a kind of a darker feeling to them than you might find in sort of like the brightness of your average sort of like American comic at the point. I mean, they were getting darker, and then here we get on to an interest in the campaigns, and the campaign and character development is really good, really clever, because you use character development, and you use like a day utility phase concept. Basically, you allocate your time to doing things, So you allocate your time to do your own job, patrolling, that sort of thing, and then we get into campaign ratings. So campaign ratings are like represent your lifestyle, your material resources, and your upkeep, and your public status, detective points, approachability, all of these factors that go into building essentially your campaign factors and your reputation as well. So you have a personal status, you know, depending upon your conscience and expression, your public response to you. It's not necessarily a game of where you have a lot of development and gaining power, extra powers, and so on. But I mean, for example, you know, they discuss things of creating devices, physical developments, refinements of current powers, and so on. And then before we get into the actual powers themselves and the general notes on them. So you've got descriptions of all of those. So for energy attack, you have lists like cold or ice, heat or flame, electricity, lightning, nuclear, laser, cosmic, player's choice, and so on. So a list of all the powers. Even have a sort of a mini magic system in there for your spells. And then martial arts, whether that's oriental martial arts or pugilism. So they're all there, and you can have a sidekick and description, some skills as well. It's not a skills game per se, but you can have actual skills, things like computer knowledge or disguise, surgeon. They're all there if you want them, and this is the player's book. There's an index, very handy. And then we get on to the supervisor's book. This is much thicker, and we have not got there's the contents page. And here we have an introduction to what the role-playing game is. And really, the supervisor's book is kind of the starting point for the game as such, because there's a little piece of advice. Attention, calling all golden heroes, find a quiet spot, strike wristbands firmly together, and then read the supervisor's book first. And then we have an actual outline of play. So, to be fair, this is the beginning point for the game. You know, don't read the supervisor. Despite the player's book being the obvious place to start, you actually start here. And this explains what the game is like, how it's played, where to start, and it covers, gives you an overview of character creation from sort of like a general one before you dive into more detail in player's book. And then this covers combat and actions. Pretty much the same as the player's book, but again a bit more detail. And so we have a guide to supervising combat. Things like grappling, grabs, delivering the coup de grace, critical hits and critical misses. So you've got critical hit tables there and there. And chances for dodging and parrying. So there is a point where you've got so in play you do kind of have to reference this. It's almost at this point where you could sort of deal with these tables being pulled out on being on a screen. Would have been kind of useful to have been a screen in there for those. So lots of advice on handling combat and damage and so on, and the action. And we have a full example of combat. Nice illustrated as well. Some of the actions. And that actually goes over several rounds. It's so you're up to sort of round 4 there, and you turn over, and it's still going on round 7 there. So that's a good page and a half devoted just to an example of combat, just to get you the feel. And then we have notes on all the superpowers, which are detailed in the player's book. And we have a combat sheet. This is used for tracking the use of rounds, essentially, and frames, because obviously the player character is going to be using frames from round to round and so on. campaign guide, running a campaign, how to use the day utility phase. And the other thing about it is, if you dig into this, so let's see what it does give you. That this does actually use a lot of this actually uses a lot of artwork from comic artists. So Brendan McCarthy, Alan Davis, and Brian Bolland. Here we go. That's a Brian Bolland piece. So really, I do like Brian Bolland as an artist. It's really fantastic. It's stuff he's done for DC, DC Comics, and then Judge Dredd as well. And then we have a discussion of the campaign ratings, so financial resources, material resources, and the like. Again, they were innovative for the time, and really tied your character into a setting, gave them a reputation. And there's also a lovely article, because the other thing is about this is, because it was a Games Workshop game, it was actively supported in White Dwarf for the period in which this was in print. And there were lovely articles, and there were extra scenarios and articles, like there was a fuller table of superpowers to roll on, where you could actually be more specific about the type of character you wanted to play. So there's like a general list, and then you could roll down for like somebody with magic or a mutant power or something like that. But there's an article on superheroes and the press, basically done tongue in cheek, but and larger than life. But it's a great article because it gave you some idea of how each of the national newspapers of the day would react to the presence of superheroes. You can imagine just how something like the Sun or the Daily Mail would respond to the arrival of the appearance of superheroes and their vigilantism. And the Guardian would react to sort of like, are these vigilantes, a danger? Do they represent, the rise of right-winged vigilantism or the like? You can imagine it. And they caught the flavour of the newspapers at the time, and you could do the same today. It would really tie the characters into the setting, certainly for the UK, and you could do it the same thing with wherever you were setting it with the newspapers, because the newspapers are all sort of get different flavours and characters. I mean, obviously, clearly modelled in that instance upon the Daily Bugle from the Marvel, but expanded because obviously we have so various different daily newspapers. And then we get discussion of patrolling, because some heroes do go out patrol, some don't. And then we've got villains and vandals, so we've got a full list of various types of villains and evildoers, which the player characters, the superheroes, can investigate and campaign against. So pages and pages of these. Even we've got the Fraternity, which is a evil supervillain team. And then we get into Crossfire Introductory Scenario by Simon Burley. So that's several pages long, and we've got a map for where it happens, so you can play it out using miniatures, and essentially another sequence there, and this mapping essentially is using the Games Workshop style tile sets, which will occasionally pop up in the different role-playing games and articles in White Dwarf. But then you've just got more open sequence. So you've got a nice illustration of sort of like the end scene there, where they discover the alien ship, and you've got it all mapped out. So yeah, and you've got the cast. And here we have the Star Guard as sort of like an NPCs, and these are where you kind of get basically a more sort of cosmic group of superheroes, bit influenced sort of like like some of the members of the Teen Titans or Legion of Superheroes, or to the Starjammers from the X-Men titles. I'm just trying to think of those. So you can kind of see the influences there, but they've done their own versions. And again, you get the index at the back. So yeah, that is Golden Heroes, which I will now put back in the box. And there are three other things in here which I will look at some point. So Supervisor's Kit, Legacy of Eagles, and Queen Victoria, Holy Grail. So apart from the miniatures here, Scott literally has everything that was published for Golden Heroes. So he's got a very nice complete package. This going to the States, where it's fairly rare. It's more common to find it in the UK because obviously it was published over here. But this is still a very serviceable and playable little role-playing game. You can have a lot of fun with it. We did play it quite a bit back in the day. It was fun. I played through and ran some of the scenarios, and everyone seemed to enjoy themselves. And I will play this again because you can create some interesting characters and play them. There are other choices, lots of other choices available, of course, but this has its very own flavour. So that's Golden Heroes from Games Workshop in 1984, written by Peter Haines and my friend Simon Burley. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. I will be back again soon with another one from this box. But in the meantime, if you have enjoyed it, please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to see me out here with a box and a book or game which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea, then please do hit that subscribe button. Once again, thanks for watching for another unboxing in the Nook. I'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.